Mr. Oscar Onyema, the CEO of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, thank you very much for your time for today, and we wish you all the best at that conference on dual listing and how it will benefit Nigerian Economic Transformation Program. So yesterday, the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, by the acronym AMCON, held an analyst roundtable ahead of today's release of its 2017 financials. According to the report being released today, AMCON is reporting gross earnings of a 23% increase in the last financial year, but says the aviation and the banking sector issues dragged down its performance in the period under review. The executive director in charge of finance and operations, Aminu Ismail, had a few minutes discussion with Channels Television at yesterday's roundtable. Let's take a listen to him.
The first major difference, which we're all quite very pleased about, is the huge improvement in the performance level. Whereas in previous years we had posted huge losses in the hundreds of billions for the operational year, we've reduced our losses this year to 14 billion, which means obviously we're on a trajectory towards profitability, and this hopefully should be the last year within which we post a loss from our operations.
And what were the drivers for your 2017 financial year in terms of the performance as you have in your record this time?
The key drivers were, one, the efficiency that we maintained in our operations. The cost of running our business has remained completely flat for almost 3 years running now. At the same time, we've significantly reduced the level of our loan loss expenses. And at the same time, we've been able to recognize the income from the Banking Sector Resolution Fund on balance sheet onto the profit and loss statement this year, thereby matching the expense to the income that we get from the Banking Sector Resolution Fund. Those have been the key drivers, for our operations.
Since you're very confident of a return to profitability, what do you hinge these projections on?
Obviously, we're that close now that we've only posted 14 billion loss, for the year, like I said, from the hundreds of billions that we used to. But it's also very important to continue to look at AMCON as a resolution vehicle. And while we focus on at least being able to get the operations to break even, the critical measuring point for a resolution vehicle should be minimizing the cost of resolution, but at the same time, being able to keep operations at a square level. So yes, we are quite excited that most definitely we are very, very close to exiting from the red zones and be able to show at least a square position from our operations.
You have described AMCON as a resolute vehicle. How would you describe your contributions to the economy, economic development, economic growth, given the interventions and asset takeovers that you have had to engage in over the years?
Right. As a resolution vehicle, first of all, our model never is to run a business. And it is only when it becomes absolutely necessary that we have to intervene in order to protect our investment, where the obligors become totally recalcitrant as well and uncooperative. In every single instance that we've done this, there has always been a social benefit to it, because we've saved the business in most instances. The job losses that would have arisen, from our non-intervention would have been quite significant. And at the same time, contribution of that concern to the economy as a whole would have been lost. So in every single instance that AMCON has had to intervene, it's been a positive win for the economy, for employment, for the country, and for economic indices generally.
And finally, a few years ago, the IMF, World Bank came up with a recommendation that AMCON needs to wind down. What are you doing regarding that? When is AMCON really going to wind down?
We're very resolute and committed to our sunset period. And our objective is to ensure that we wind up operations in an orderly fashion by our sunset date. The sunset date has never changed. We remain committed to it. And we would drive towards ensuring that we resolve all of the challenged businesses that we have and the challenged eligible bank assets that we hold, to ensure that come sunset that we are in a position to close the corporation and exit entirely.
That's Aminu Ismail, who is the Executive Director in charge of Finance and Operations at the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. When we come back, we go back to the very top, the major meeting taking place today between the Central Bank and the Bureau de Change Operators. FX is still a very big conversation out there. Let's come back to you, everyone. And, of course, we'll touch on our fixed income market. Treasury bills remain very hot since we started the week. We're wrapping up the month, and we're looking at the first half of the year. We'll be right back into Watching Business Morning.